The Lotus Eletre R. Yes, we've driven this car before, but not on a track, and not this one. One sticker, 300 more horsepower. This is Eletre R. Welcome to Hampton Downs, and welcome to the garage. Subscribe to see the first drives of New Zealand's newest and best cars driven on New Zealand roads in New Zealand conditions. Taking a Lotus to the track, well, it's par for the course. Well, maybe if you're in an Elise. This is not an Elise. The Eletre is an SUV, a big SUV, around 5 meters. It's also electric. That means batteries. Batteries are heavy. All up, this is 2.6 tonne. Still, Heft hasn't stopped us having fun here before. Take the Bentayga S. It's almost 2.5 tonne. And what a blast. More fun, more tyre splitting fun is what I'm feeling. But we're not here to defy the laws of physics. In fact, we're here to put those laws to work. And the beauty of the North Waikato, it just rains. It's a very greasy track. But here's some numbers for you. This car produces, well, an astounding 675 kilowatts. That's 905 brake horsepower. Even better, there's 985 newton meters of torque. I'll put it another way. That makes this the most powerful and fastest SUV ever sold in New Zealand. When you crunch those numbers up, what you get is a 0 to 100 time of 2.95 seconds. And yes, we're going to try that out in a moment. First, what is Lotus Eletre? Well, this isn't our first rodeo. We drove the Eletre S version a few months back and it impressed. But if you are a Lotus purist and you're still not convinced, keep this in mind. This is a daring design. It is truly innovative, and they are things that Lotus has always stood for. There's a link to that drive in the description below, and much of the two versions of Eletre are the same. Just the R delivers a bit more fun, actually make that a lot more fun, and not just thanks to the extra 225 kilowatts. This Eletre has the latest upgrade, and that includes video games. And how's this for a touch of bling? Unlock the car, that rear light bar, it's fully RGB. That's telling me how charged the battery is. You know, all the conversations are about performance, but this is a hyper SUV on a whole lot of other levels. There is just so much going on. The Aerodynamics are the prime example, from the Can-Am style bonnet cutouts, the active air intakes that open on demand, and wheel arch vents to tidy up the messy airflow from the wheels. Were it not for all the power, you could argue that Aero is the real headline grabber. Then again, you could also argue that space is. This is a 5 metre long car. And it seems the rear seats get a fair chunk of that space. You know, normally when you talk Lotus, you focus on chassis, but when I first drove Eletre, it was actually the incredible standard of materials and build quality that made the biggest impression. You know, from a driving point of view, you expect a lot from anything with the Lotus badge, and the Eletre hasn't just delivered, it's exceeded any of my expectations. Lotus really have thrown the kitchen sink at Eletre, from the OLED displays to Napa leather to LiDAR, cleverly disguised as a London taxi flag. And with that, Uber fast charging. And there's a 2.5 tonne tow rating. You know, it's so easy for this just to be a list of features. This car is literally loaded, but that's not why we're making this film. Let's get back to the track. After all, that's why we're at Hampton Downs. It's launch time, but before we start, I just want to point out again, 5 minutes ago that the track was starting to dry. It's been raining, things are a little bit greasy. I'm just saying that. It's launch time. I'm lifting off, I'm sorry. I lifted off for a moment there, I don't mind admitting that. And I've got the maximum traction control on. This car is ridiculous. It's awesome. I know it's a big car, but thanks to the air suspension, four-wheel steering and the active roll bars, and of course the sprinkling of Lotus magic dust, this thing drives incredibly. It is so pointy. I don't think I've ever driven an SUV or a car this size that has been so pointy. It's scarily rapid. I'm not going to say it's chuckable. I'll be making that up. What it is though, is immensely capable. These track conditions are horrible. This car is delightful. That epic performance does come at a cost, with the range dropping from close to 600 to 490 kilometres. On the upside, that big battery can take a 350 kilowatt charge. That's hyper fast. That means you can gain around 350 k's of range in just 20 minutes. So what's it cost? $315,000, which makes it 20% more expensive than the Eletre R. You could argue that it's 50% more powerful. But look, the fact is I don't know what to compare this car to, which says a lot about what Lotus have delivered with the Eletre. There are no other hyper SUVs. Right now, this car is out on its own. Not so long ago, the thought of Lotus going electric was up there with, well, Bob Dylan going electric. Pardon the music analogy here. At the time, it was a disaster, but history showed us it was actually some of his best work. And if the Eletre is anything to go by, Lotus are on song.